And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at one of the prettiest games you will see all year, and that is koi. Koi is just a gorgeous little game about koi, having the fish in your backyard, I guess, and them swimming around and eating dragonflies. Koi is from Smirk and Laughter, which is a division of Smirk and Daggers. Smirk and Daggers are their mean, in-your-face style games. Smirk and Laughter are more family and fun style games, and that's what this one is under the category of. You're going to be moving your fish around, trying to eat dragonflies and frogs, kind of programming your movement with cards while watching the weather. Here's how it plays. The board's going to be set up differently based on how many players are in the game. This side of the board's used for 3 or 4 players. There's some rocks on the board. There's some lily pads. At the beginning of each round, lily pads are going to spawn dragonflies. Dragonflies are what you're trying to eat because they're worth 3 points. Frogs will show up, which are worth 1 point, but they also eat dragonflies. So at the beginning of each round of the game, and you can play a longer or shorter game based on how many rounds, you're going to be drawing a weather card, and these weather cards are just going to cause random things to happen. Maybe dragonflies will show up in each corner of the board. Or I can place a cherry blossom on my turn. Here I can draw 5 instead of 3. Normally you only draw 3 at the end of your turn. Here, before your turn, move each frog 1 space forward. If a koi faces a rock, they can jump it immediately. So there's just different things that will happen. Also, at the beginning of a round, if there's empty lily pads, they're going to spawn dragonflies. And then the player with the lowest score is going to go first each round. And players are going to start with various cards at the beginning of the game. And at the end of their turn, they're going to draw 3. And they can have up to 5 cards. And you can play as many cards as you want, but you're not required to play cards. Now, most cards are, or many cards, are movement cards. When you play a movement card, you're going to be playing it from the perspective of your fish. And then you're going to start from bottom and go to top. Blue actions are optional. Black ones are mandatory. So if I'm here, for example, on the board, and I might say, okay, I'm going to turn for my first blue optional action. I'll skip my second one. I'll then turn again and then go forward 1 because that's what it shows on the card. So you can see the various, this all mandatory. Turn, forward. Possible all this, but you're definitely going to be moving forward. Other cards will allow you to put a frog on a board. Frogs will immediately eat adjacent dragonflies, but they're also worth a point if you eat them, move into them. This puts a lily pad on the board, which will spawn more dragonflies in the future. Rocks will block probably other koi's movement. These are jump. You'll jump the tile directly in front of you. It lets you jump over rocks or things that get in your way. This lets you turn in any direction you want to. Normally, it's going to just move you 1 spot. So you can see there's like all different sorts of cards. Move, turn any direction, then move again. Just turn in any direction. Jump, then move. And again, remembering that the blue things are optional. There's also cards that let you put cherry blossoms on the board. When a cherry blossom's on the board, it pushes everything 1 space away from it, which could push it into a koi, which allows you to eat it. You can't go off the board, obviously, and then you just keep going until the end of the game, at which point whoever has the most points is the winner. Remembering, for each dragonfly you eat, it's removed from the board. You'll be getting 3 points. For each frog, you get 1 point. And you'll be scoring these points after 6 rounds or 4 in a short game. Whoever has the most points is the winner. There's no question that this game is just very, very pretty and gorgeous. From the lily pads to the flowers to the dragonflies, the koi fish themselves. These are just really nice. Not only are they nicely designed, it's an easy way to tell them apart, even if you can't necessarily tell them apart by color. I just like how these look. The board itself looks fantastic. This is the 2-player side of the board. The weather cards have various artwork on them, like paintings. The cards themselves are really good quality. It's just really nice. But there's one negative thing I have about the component quality, and that's the movement cards. Now, I know for many people, these movement cards are going to make sense. Where your fish is on the board, and then you go from bottom to top. But I'm telling you from experience, every single person I played this with reads the cards from top to bottom. They just do. They're like, okay, turn, go forward. When they're in your hand, they're looking at it. They're saying, okay, I'll turn. And then, oh, wait, no, I start from the bottom and go to the top. It's not intuitive, not even a little. And again, I know why they did it. I know it makes sense to do that. But the fact of the matter is that people are naturally made to read from top to bottom. That's how we read things. And so to have it go from bottom to top can be confusing. But that's my only negative. Other than that, just a gorgeous production. First of all, you need to allow the fact that this is in the Smirk and Laughter to not affect you one whit. This is a mean game. I mean, seriously mean. Whoever goes first has a huge advantage each round, especially if you're all in the same corner of the pond, which can happen because just the way events can happen, there's like a flood that will happen if there's no dragonflies on the board, and there's like some reset stuff and weather cards, and often a bunch of dragonflies might show up in the same place, so obviously you're going to head there because that's a lot of points. And if several people are there, whoever's going first is going to go and eat them, and you don't know what's going to happen. They might even have a way that just messes you up completely. And so that's just in the game. You got to realize that. Secondly, there's a good chunk of luck in this game. And by good chunk, I mean overwhelmingly too much for me. Now, there's different cards in the game. Some cards, I would rather have movement cards than anything else. And I'd rather have movement cards that let me move and not just do a bunch of turning. And sometimes I need to turn. Basically, I want to eat the dragonflies. So I'm going to look at my hand and say, how can I use my hand to go after this? Now, the game does have a mechanism where you can just discard cards from your hand and draw new ones. You just draw one less than the cards in your hand. Considering how precious cards are, I've done this a lot in the game, and sometimes it works and often it doesn't. But you're just trying to get these right cards to be able to move. The programming sounds good, but every movement card is different. And I might need to turn this way and go somewhere, and the card tells me to turn this way. What can I do? Oh, I can play a lily pad. Yay, that's exciting for future turns, but for this turn right now, and that's the way the game is. Sure, in a future turn, I can set up the lily pad and be like, ooh, and then I'll save this card to let me move forward. There's a little bit of that strategy in the game, but it's honestly full of luck. When you couple that with how mean the game is, because if you go first, you might finally get the card you need and someone cuts in front of you and eats the dragonflies, and then you couple that with the fact that just sometimes you're forgetting which order you'll have your whole turn planned out. Then you remember that you read from the top down, and that's a problem. It just doesn't work for me, this game. It looks fantastic. Smirk and Laughter, has done a fantastic production here, and people are going to come by and play. And some people may really enjoy this. Because I think if you go into it and you're just going to have a good old time and you're not really caring who wins that badly, and you're just playing cards and laughing and blocking each other and going around and swimming and eating the dragonflies and the frogs and so on, you'll get a big kick out of the game. But for me, I wanted a little bit more to do. I felt like the game didn't give me enough control over the fish, that the weather cards were just crazy random. You can play the variant where you can see them coming ahead of time. And sometimes they were great and sometimes they weren't, but it just seemed like the game would be like, here, you, Madeline, this is your turn where you have an amazing turn. Here's the right cards, here's the right dragonflies. And you, Tom, this turn's gonna suck. And that's kind of how the game comes across. Some people may like that. I don't think it outstays its welcome. 6 turns is a little longer maybe than I want, but then again, you can play the 4-turn game. But you just got to go into it knowing that it's essentially a take that programmable movement game, which is a category that doesn't seem to work for me in this situation. So, but it's still really pretty. That's Koi. Dice Tower Judgment, pretty, but too lucky.